how does anyone make sense of the next market move, given the recent patch of market volatility?
It's interesting. Last week, we definitely saw the market show its nerves again. Prior to that, let's say the 2 weeks to 3 weeks ago, as the market was recovering from its lows, we saw what I like to call FOMO return to the marketplace, and that's fear of missing out. Some other people might just say that's another manifestation of greed, but you definitely had people buying into the market, almost panic buying, because you still have the mindset in the marketplace that no one wants to miss a rally. They're still more afraid of missing a rally than being caught on the downside, and that's an important psychological delineator at this point. What we saw then, though, was last Tuesday, the market really did not react very well to new Fed Chairman Powell's testimony. One would say it certainly was due for a pullback because we'd rallied sharply for several sessions in a row before that. Continued to sell off again on Wednesday. And while many were touting Thursday as being a day that could be a buying opportunity because several years ago, it was probably a great buying opportunity when Fed Chairman Yellen gave her second day of testimony. Apparently the same thing happened. The market sold off her first day. But in her case, it rallied the second and pretty much never stopped for a few years. But in this case, we had an interesting problem because just as the market might have been trying to get out of its own way, we got the unexpected talk that the president was thinking about putting tariffs on steel and aluminum. Markets do not like tariffs. Markets are basically free trade oriented. And protectionism is something that tends to hinder free trade, and that's definitely something to watch going forward. Well, the market sort of recovered itself a bit on Friday, and on Monday, the market certainly sold off as the weekend news read very bad on the tariff situation, on the trade war situation. I don't recall ever a president using the word trade war in a sentence and actively looking for one. And the market was nervous about that. But again, sort of mid-morning on Monday, the FOMO was back. And as the sell-off abated and there was not as much selling to go around, which I guess could be expected after the sharp declines of the prior week, the market took off and really didn't look back for some time. That's one of these situations, and that's, again, where I think the psychological element of the market is very important. Whether you want to call it greed or whether you want to call it FOMO, or if you have another cute term for it, please let me know and I'll be happy to utilize it. But basically, people still do not want to be left behind. There's performance pressure, whether it's where it comes from. I think there's certainly an institutional performance pressure. No portfolio manager wants to be the guy who misses the rally because that means you miss out on your bonus if you underperform continuously. But so you still have the psychological bias to buy dips and to perpetuate rallies. The flip side of that is the VIX curve has not normalized, which is telling you that there is still fear, or at least there is still sort of a scarcity of volatility, as we'll call it, right? Because a backwardation in a futures curve, when near-term prices are higher than further out prices, tends to reflect scarcity. In this case, volatility is kind of a nebulous concept, but it's basically saying that people are willing to pay more for near-term volatility because they don't have enough protection in the short term. So it's an interesting problem. People still want to keep buying. People still want to keep one foot out the door with the hedge. And until you really see this work itself out, whether through a VIX curve that goes back into contango, which is the normal upward sloping futures curve that we tend to see, or whether markets are less susceptible to just zooming higher every time there's a slightest rally, this is going to be something that's going to have to play out over the next few months, and the backdrop politically is going to be an important factor in that.